Hi fam, it's Kayla, or Moon, or enjoyer of sad shit. Fortunately, this video will be right on brand for me because we're talking about Peach of Time. I think a lot of people missed out on this series due to it being inaccessible, and that's a real shame, seeing as this is the first Thai-Korean BL crossover of its kind. But I'm not here to drag capitalism, at least not today. So let's begin with a synopsis of the plot. Peach of Time is about a boy from Thailand named Peach who travels to South Korea to visit his friend Yuno. Upon arriving, he notices that his friend is acting strangely, and he suspects him of hiding a secret. The dark truth? Yuno died in a sudden accident, and Peach is seeing his ghost. So dramas about ghosts can be hit or miss depending on your preference or the actual portrayal. It's no surprise that I love a good supernatural angle to a story. Something about the question of what could have been is so alluring to me, if not utterly tragic. However, it can get cliche very easily. Think of any K-drama you've ever seen that had a supernatural theme. Was there a scene where a ghost tried to touch a living person and their hand went straight through them? It's funny, you have to admit. It doesn't matter how high the budget for a drama is, the ghost will still be portrayed using cheap special effects. And it's not much of an issue if the acting is decent, but sometimes it can really take you out of the story. To segue into Peach of Time, a big reason why I was drawn to this series is because Peach and Yuno can physically interact with each other. They're able to show affection through more than just a stare. They can hold hands, they can embrace, and best of all, Peach is able to console Yuno over his death. The veil between worlds doesn't have to be thin for them to do anything, and I think that was a smart move on the director's part. It helped to get rid of the cheesiness that many ghost dramas suffer from. We never find out how it is that Peach can touch Yuno or see him in the first place, but I assume it has something to do with the power of love. Another thing that drew me in was pure curiosity as to how they'd pull it off with the language barrier. Of course, they hired interpreters, but I wasn't sure if Jimmy's character would speak Korean or Jaehyun's character would speak Thai. Turns out their characters are supposed to be bilingual, which makes sense in hindsight. As someone with a multicultural family, I found it very believable for them to understand each other but to reply in their native tongue. Nothing about it felt awkward to me, and in fact, I thought it exhibited how connected Peach and Yuno were, despite being from different countries. Moving on to the plot, I was thoroughly satisfied. The question of whether Yuno purposefully walked into the street or was pushed by someone else makes for a great conflict. Internally, we see his mother fight with herself over the possibility that she drove him to kill himself. Externally, we see her fight with not just the police, but the man who is responsible for her son's death. All the while, Peach's attachment to Yuno's spirit grows stronger, though they both know it won't last. This series relies a lot on character development, and that's what pushes the story along. Ultimately, it was the mystery surrounding Yuno's death and the reconciliation with his mother that kept me watching. I kind of feel like Peach and Yuno's romance was secondary to their friendship, and the story as a whole, because we know they became friends in Thailand, but by the time they realized their feelings for each other, Yuno's already dead. So as a couple, there isn't anywhere for them to go. It's too late for all that. In the end, it's their friendship that carries them through, and loving each other is just a natural part of that progression. I think that's what made them so captivating, aside from Jimmy and Jaehyun's chemistry. To wrap on what I liked, let's talk about Mario. First off, I love that Jimmy and Tommy are in this series together, but they don't play a couple. I thought that was a nice way of attracting their fan base while allowing them flexibility. But back to Mario. So I found his story even more depressing than Yuno's, and here's why. This man's spirit has been stuck on Earth for years, searching for the woman that stood him up on the night he was going to propose. His soul can't find peace until he sees her again and discovers the truth. She was blinded after running into the fire that killed him. The way their love transcends time is so beautiful and breathtaking, and The heteros did it with that one. You guys ate and left no crumbs. I almost lost it when I saw Mario in that all-white suit, smiling back at Sujin outside the Christmas party. As for Sujin being able to hear Mario, I assume it has to do with her other senses being heightened. But then again, it might just be the power of love coming in twofold. Now, there isn't much I disliked about this series, but there are a handful of things that left me confused. The main one is how much time passes between the first and last episode. It felt like Peach arrived in South Korea, realized Yuno was a ghost, opened a cafe in his honor, then dipped back to Thailand. And the thing is, I thought the pacing was done fairly well. Maybe it's the opening of the cafe that really confused me, because starting a business in a foreign country isn't something you can just do. A ton of legal paperwork goes into that, including a work visa. Not to mention, Peach doesn't plan on staying after the holidays, so what was his logic? Did the cafe even help Yuno come to terms with his unfulfilled dream? To me, it seemed like it made him feel worse about his situation. I might be overthinking it, but that part of the story didn't feel as fleshed out as the rest. The second part I was confused by was Mario not already being an evil spirit. The way he describes it, a spirit only has a certain number of days to pass over before they become evil. So how was he still Casper the Friendly Ghost years after the fact? Was it because he hadn't seen Sujin yet and seeing her would trigger that inner evil? It's possible I've missed a crucial detail here, but I've been wondering about this from the moment his character was introduced. To summarize my thoughts, I really enjoyed this series. The messages of spiritual peace and forgiveness are evergreen, and I love how the story focused on these aspects rather than Peach and Yuno's entanglement. If you don't mind those finer details, I don't think they'll bother you much. Just be prepared to cry while listening to the OST. Thank you to the Moon and Back for watching. Thank you to my Discord for keeping discussion alive. And tell me what you liked or didn't about Peach of Time. Also, what upcoming BLs are you looking forward to? Some of my picks are KinnPorsche, Bad Buddy, and Paint with Love. All I have to say is, stay hydrated and stick around, because there's a lot to look forward to. Talk to you later? Okay, goodbye!